Give me here.
I love how you looked on TV
When she was getting the tea. Because you double stack. Did you guys switch? They want you to switch. Oh, you sir?
Two microphones.
Activist. We're here today. M-A-R-K-L-A-N-E. We're here today to talk about El Cajon City Council and their ongoing criminalization of the homeless. Yesterday we did our fourth in conjunction with another group, food share in their park out there, Wells Park, to feed the homeless, which is against the latest ordinance that they passed prohibiting feeding the homeless. And 12 people were arrested. We think 14, but we've confirmed 12 because it all kind of went chaotic. And we are against the ordinance for a variety of reasons. Number one, it's based on an excuse. They're using hepatitis A as the excuse. Yes, we have a problem with hepatitis A, but you don't battle that by not feeding homeless people. And so we've been fighting it since November. We've gone to city council and talked to council. We've offered them to sit down with topics, figure out a more humane way. They dug their heels in and they sent the police to arrest us yesterday, and that's what happened. We got arrested for feeding the homeless. Some of the people out here are people that were arrested. We have our two attorneys who will speak also.
Are you guys going to be filing a lawsuit? Or?
Where do you go from here following all these arrests?
Where do we go from here is we move to dismiss the criminal charges on the basis of constitutionality, and there's probably some other issues as well. And then a civil suit will follow. The ordinance is unconstitutional for a variety of reasons. First off, it restricts everybody who went to feed the people's right to freedom of speech. It's okay to feed non-homeless people. It's okay to give food in public to other people, but not homeless people. That's an unfair way of targeting the alleged issue of hepatitis A. The city council knew that, but like Mark said, they seized upon Hep A as an excuse because the overall sentiment was, we don't want to invite homeless people here, and by giving them food, you're having them come here. The county's own health official, when he was informing citizens of hepatitis A and what to do, said it's not about whether you give packaged food to homeless people, packs of crackers, packs of cookies. That has nothing to do with Hep A. The city knew that. They have lawyers, but they went ahead and did it anyway, probably disregarding their lawyers' advice.
The city council, I actually spoke to some of them today, and city officials were saying, no, we want them to feed them in a place that is sanitary or what have you. What do you have to say about that? Rather than in a public park.
Well, the question then becomes, why is it sanitary for you to have a birthday party and feed in the park, but it's unsanitary for me to have a food share and feed in the park? It's ridiculous. On its face, it's ridiculous. It's them, scratching at whatever they can to back up their bad ordinance.
So it's very simple. The government can't do something that abridges your rights. The First Amendment gives you the right to speech, the right to assemble, the right to redress grievances. So they passed an ordinance. They charge all these good people with the misdemeanor. Now, is that misdemeanor constitutionally valid? Because the people have a right to assemble. Now, the government has the right to, for health reasons, limit the activities of the people. But these health reasons are pretextual. They have to be narrowly tailored. Why? Because they're stopping these people's rights to share the religious freedom, to share bread, to share food with others. They're not really trying to save people from hepatitis, because if none of us have hepatitis and we're all feeding the homeless, we're not giving them hepatitis. The homeless are giving each other hepatitis. Why? Because the society, El Cajon, doesn't provide anywhere for them to live, to clean, to shower. A lot of churches are now being scared. The churches in La Jolla, the churches in El Cajon are being scared by the public, saying, oh, these people are bringing us hepatitis. But they're not. All you got to do is start helping the homeless. There's a lot of homeless advocates. Give them showers, give them bathrooms, have them wash their hands. They can wash their hands and they're not going to spread the hepatitis A. Plus people can have vaccinations. So there are other ways of doing it. They just don't want the homeless in El Cajon. They don't want the homeless in downtown San Diego. No one is helping the homeless. So that's why Scott and I, we believe this is unconstitutional, and we're going to file a motion to dismiss, and we're going to file a lawsuit as an injunction to prevent them from preventing these good people from feeding the homeless. And these guys are doing a great job, because that's what America is about, feeding everybody. It's a commonwealth.
And then a question for Scott. So have you guys, you're going to file an injunction and then file this lawsuit. Have you guys talked to this El Cajon city attorney? Have you talked to the mayor's office about getting some sort of accommodation or anything for your guys' group about this?
We've not talked to the city attorney, but Mark has tried to talk to the city council and the elected officials a number of times, and they've not wanted to hear from him. So obviously the time to
They
talk.
said I'm unreasonable.
Yeah.
I
The
was
city
reasonable
spoke by
at
giving
first.
everyone tickets. I'm sorry.
I was reasonable at first, and then as soon as I started disagreeing with them, they're like, "Oh, you're unreasonable too." Asking for where they got their facts from.
And so for the record, so the fourth time you guys were here, so you guys have done it 3 times since the ordinance was passed. The first time they weren't there, the second time they issued you guys written warnings,
No, third time.
third time they issued you guys written warnings, and then the fourth time they've now decided to give you guys these
Arrested. Yeah, don't
court
confuse.
appearances.
Just because we didn't go to jail, we were actually arrested. It was explained to us by the supervisor that you are actually under arrest. We're not going to book you. They have discretion on whether to do that or not. I would say, like I told some of you earlier, we got the white privilege arrest. I think. is what happened.
Would that be a misdemeanor or felony?
It's 2 misdemeanor charges they charged all of us with.
Misdemeanors
misdemeanor
as opposed to infractions. An infraction is a speeding ticket, parking ticket. The city chose to cite it as misdemeanors, which is punishable by jail.
I don't know another question for you, Scott. So this ordinance, it says it'll be continuing until the public health emergency is over. County supervisors have had discussions. They talk about a plan to end it around the end of January. So if this ends and this goes away, you guys plan to continue with the legal action?
Well,
Well-
they did their action against us.
Yeah, we're in court now. They've cited 11 or 12 people. There's a court. They've put several court dates, some in March, some in April. So the next step is going to court and get the charges dismissed. If not, we'll go to trial, and then we'll return to the civil courts.
I don't necessarily understand. So, I mean, if you guys
Sorry.
go and they've already issued you guys the tickets, and let's say the ordinance was gone then because the public emergency was over, so the ordinance gets repealed, would you still have to fight it? Would they dismiss it in court? What would that?
I don't know.
What could that look like?
There's 2 different issues. So if you're charged with a crime, and then that is no longer a crime, misdemeanor, then I believe a judge will dismiss all the charges. In terms of the civil action to enjoin them from violating their civil rights or constitutional rights, some courts might say if the injunction is over or the activity is no longer being prohibited, then it may be moot. But other courts might say even though it's moot, means it's no longer relevant, will continue because they have already suffered the harm. So that harm has to be redressed. So the activity may be moot, the law may be moot, but not the damages that were already caused.
So it's not a clear date when you guys are gonna complain against the ordinance by itself.
What are you filing?
If you could wait a second to answer.
about 10 days. And the first court dates are January 17th, 2017 in the El Cajon courthouse. 2018.
But that's for the misdemeanors.
That's it.
What I'm
And the injunction, we're doing it in 10 days before our next feeding, before they start feeding the sharing bread with the homeless people.
Because we're going to continue doing it. January 27th is the next feeding in Wells Park. And
Have you
then-
guys contacted the churches in El Cajon, all the religious organizations? Because with the Bible says, you know, you gotta feed the hungry, and it doesn't go against what they preach. Have you contacted with the religious organizations?
The churches are doing it. They came yesterday to see what was going on because a lot of people are trying to limit the church's activity. I'm not sure why they're trying to do that.
So I have talked with a minister who's out there, and I have talked with some other people. The general consensus, it seems to be that the churches that are out there already have, and they've had long relationships with the city council members and the city council, and it's, I think, probably stressing their friendship, and they aren't necessarily going to be the ones who are out there, you know, calling out their friends for passing something. It's kind of sad to watch Christians try to justify, not helping your neighbor, not loving your neighbor like you love yourself, Jesus was pretty clear on that one with the Samaritan parable, by saying, oh, we have to follow a law even if we don't like it. And it's like, no, I think you should look to see what Jesus actually did say on this issue. He answered this question. And so I think I get a sense of appreciation, quiet appreciation from some of the churches out there that were out there doing this, because their parishioners, their people that go to those churches are coming out and they're helping at our events. And they're thankful that we're out doing it. And they want to be able to come back out and do it without fear of retribution from their own community and their community leaders that they elected.
But the churches are allowed to actually feed them on their property.
Yeah, but not all the churches have facilities to feed them, and a lot of the religious groups out there were feeding in the park, feeding on the street, feeding in the concourse.
She's just saying, though, that the churches were. All I'm saying is that if they have a facility, they have no issue.
The government doesn't get to tell churches what their religious
Absolutely, that's what I'm saying.
like.
So that's why it doesn't. That's why I'm trying to understand your point. I understand that they want to come. They would like to be out. That's what you're saying.
Absolutely like to
But
be
they
out
could
there.
actually feed from their.
They can feed from
They
there.
have no problem.
Some of them can.
Yeah, a lot of them were out in the parks, like I was saying, and they had to stop. All 4 events we've had church organizations from El Cajon helping with the events. Yesterday, 2 pastors came over after I was arrested and shook my hand and thanked me for what I was doing, and one of them told me that it helps his ministry.
Yeah.
Anybody from
so it's not
church was
cookie cutter.
arrested?
Huh?
Anybody that belongs to a church or was there from church
Yesterday?
was arrested?
That I don't know, because I don't know everybody. It was chaotic. It happened all kind of quick. I have a list. Huh?
12 confirmed.
12 confirmed. I think there's 2 more. I reached out to the other 2 people. I have a list. I know about half the people on the list. So I don't know the other people on everybody else on the list.
And then this Break the Ban group, are you guys a non-profit or is it?
We're just community, citizens that saw something that was wrong. Here we're today on Martin Luther King Day, and one of the things he told us was, if a law is unjust, you're obligated to reject it. We saw an unjust law and we're rejecting it, is what we're doing. We tried to do it nicely. They dug in their heels. We pushed the envelope. They dug in their heels. They pushed the envelope. We'll keep pushing back. Now it's going to go to court. It's out of their hands, really, to be honest with you now. The city council dug in their heels a little too far. Now it's going to get litigated in court.
For Scott, are there any loopholes around this law that you guys have looked into? I mean, I know it says, it's very specific in the meeting about if you guys throw like a party, or you guys look into like working around the law, or you guys just want to.
Yeah, we're not going to do that. You don't confront a law by using loopholes in the law. You confront a law by directly defying it. So we could say, yes, we're having a party for Shane, and everybody's invited, and we're cool. But then what did we do? The law's still there. We didn't confront it.
And that makes the law constitutionally vague, because the law has to be specific.
Exactly. The fact that there's loopholes, like we can have a party for shame and get away with it, shows how flawed the law is. That's what makes it unconstitutional.
One of the most amazing things was the first time we went to council to speak about it, the mayor was questioning Shane after she spoke in public commentary. The mayor didn't know what was in the ordinance. He did not know there was exemptions in the ordinance on who could actually eat in the park. He never read it. He voted on it and he never read it. He had no idea. The city attorney was going like this to him when he was questioning Shane. They hurriedly created a law to criminalize and try to push homeless out of their city.
One of the designs of the law, I think, was to people read it and they get intimidated. They say, okay, we're not going to go out there because we'll get tickets. A lot of churches have those feelings. Over the years, there's been one church many years ago, St. Albans Episcopal Church, who would not be intimidated and essentially stuck their middle finger up at the city and challenged an ordinance, and it worked out really well for everybody. But it's very rare that a church will do that, especially the bigger ones. The Rock Church a year ago in the All-Star Game in San Diego, the city said, please stop feeding. And the huge Rock Church, instead of saying, we'll stop feeding in the park, but where will you help us feed? What will you give us in exchange for stopping our religious activity? The Rock Church didn't say that. They just put their tail between their legs and said, okay, we won't do it. And so the law is intimidating, and when a law like that intimidates you from exercising your religious rights, your First Amendment rights, that makes it unconstitutional.
Right, and in the law, it talks about not having like the proper food handling and things like that. That's why they want to implement this.
That's not the law, that's the justification.
That's the,
I'm sorry. There's a justification there. And it says here, individuals shall not, without having obtained permits and everything like that. So that being said, do you guys have a food handling permit?
We don't need to have one. Do you need to have a food handler's permit to have a birthday party in the park?
I don't
So
know.
why do I?
I haven't looked into that.
You don't need to.
that's our
Have you-
contention
have
is we don't need
I'm
one.
just saying the city is saying
The city is lying to
But
you.
the laws on food handling apply to food that is prepared
On site.
on site to serve.
For sale.
None of this food is prepared. It's all packaged you buy at a store.
One of the things that's always frustrating for me is we have this idea that we have to show both sides of the story. But when we show both sides of the story, we have to push back on both sides. So if they send you a justification letter, you got to push back on stuff that's obviously not justifiable. So you know for a fact that every birthday party you've gone to in a park with your friends and your family, do you think they all had food handlers permits? No, because they don't have to.
Right.
So why do I have to go to a park and feed homeless people? I can feed you without a food handler's permit, and why can't I feed homeless people?
We can
It's
feed the
ridiculous.
soccer league without a food handler's
It's
permit,
ridiculous.
but not homeless people.
Yeah, there is a lot of circumstances, but the main part in this is the government and church and then charity. And the dollar bill says, "In God we trust." Every single government do that. In God we trust. Apparently, they do not trust God when they go against the rule of feeding the hungry.
So my answer to you is, you answered your own question. I mean, that's exactly right.
And that is the bottom
Whether
line.
you believe in God or
That
whether
wasn't
you
a
don't believe in
stupid
God.
way of making an ordinance
Yes.
in a city for the people.
Yes, I agree with you.
Yeah, well said.
We want to make sure that
You belong on this side of the camera,
Yeah,
Carlos.
you gotta
Lauderdale and
Mark,
Pennsylvania.
talk about stopping it spreading from other cities out there too. That's important.
Yeah, the other thing, you come talk about it. Shane's a much better speaker than me. I don't know why she wanted me mic'd up.
No, it's okay.
Part of the big reason why we needed to immediately jump on this is if El Cajon gets away with passing an ordinance like this, then what's to stop Ramona or Santee or La Mesa from passing ordinances like this? And we just have this wave of criminalizing and stigmatizing the most neediest members of our society and the people who are out of pocket and out of their own time and emotional energy choosing to help and do, quite frankly, the work that our elected officials and our taxpayer dollars are supposed to be spent on. And yesterday we saw, 10, 12 very highly paid police officers come out, probably on overtime, and that was how the city of El Cajon chose to prioritize the use of its tax dollars, was to target people who are helping their neediest residents. I want everybody to go request and find out how much the city of El Cajon spent on that stunt yesterday and see what could have been done for the homeless residents in that park instead. And that's the big thing. We need to stop it now. El Cajon has been on this trajectory of criminalizing homeless. It was first, they made it illegal to camp outside in public spaces, which is a way of saying homeless people can't lie down and sleep. Then they made it illegal to sleep in your car. So if you were lucky enough to have a job and still be in your car because you couldn't afford your rent, you weren't allowed to sleep in your car. You can lose your car, have your car impounded. Then they made it illegal to panhandle. That recently got overturned in Washington State. And then they got away with all of that, so now they're just going straight to the
Criminalizing the homeless without providing for the homeless. And
Where would they like them to go? I think that, I'm sorry. That's the question. The El Cajon mayor has said some very telling things when he's responding to residents during city council meetings. And he literally said, we're trying to make the parks less attractive to the homeless people. Well, where would you like them to go? Because not everybody's going to go to the Christian rehab that you are basically trying to funnel everybody to, that I think a lot of the city council members have personal ties and connections to, and those organizations get city money, and they're faith-based. Where are the gay homeless kids supposed to go? Where are the mentally ill people supposed to go? My sister-in-law was homeless in El Cajon. She's been missing for 2 years in Arizona, and it just kills me to think that somebody might not be sharing food with her because the state passed a law making it illegal to share food. I mean, how messed up is that?
That's just the most, like what's happening to our country right now. They are saying you can't see somebody in need and offer them something when they need it. Where would they like them to go? By all means, because you know what? There are a lot of people in the homeless people in the park yesterday who would also like to know. They want to know where the city council members are, what they're doing for them, and what resources they are offering.
Any other questions?
Can we have one-on-ones?
Yeah.
Sorry.
I don't know whose mics I have.
Ah, bueno, yo la voy a dar entonces.